Welcome to Kids Church on the Go. So we're going to be talking about using no space or a small space, or trying to figure out how to have a great kids church with pretty much not having a space. Who in this room currently does not have a designated room for their kids church? Go ahead and raise your hand. We'll wait for a few late people. Tyler's late.
That's your car seat.
I think this is your baby carriage.
Yeah, that's my chair. My chair.
All right. Cool. If you go all the way to the very back of the schedule, mine will start on the second to last page. The images are a little dark, so I do apologize about that, but we can kind of make out what's going on in there. My name is Munoz. That is my wife Selena over there in the back. We all oversee our children's ministry here at Hope Center Church with Pastor Brandon Wood, almost a he's bishop now. So, and then this is Allie right here. Allie, wave your hand. And this is Tristan. Tristan comes and helps us out. And then Missy over there in the back. And then Sister Barbara, who oversees our choir, our junior camp, all the big stuff that we need done. She helps us out, and she is a veteran in the children's ministry. So you can always pick her brain if you have any questions. But this is Kids Church on the Go. So this very room that you are sitting in is our children's ministry room. It serves a lot of purposes. Today it's hosting a conference. At the end of the day, we're going to be having a cast party for our Easter drama. And then Sunday mornings, we set it all up again and have Kids Church in here. So if you can kind of see on these very dark pictures here, this is what our children's ministry looks like on a weekly basis. But we transformed this room into a completely different looking room. If you were to step in here on a Sunday morning when we're getting ready for Kids Church, this room looks a complete 180. It doesn't even look as tan walls and all that stuff. So, so on your handout you can see Kids Church on the Go for those who are limited on space or a use of facility. If you attend a church where their room is very scarce, or there is no room, you could even come from a small church. I remember the church that I started going to when I was a kid. It was literally sanctuary. The foyer was probably from that wall to about right here. And plus there was restrooms and all that in that same space. So I understand what it's like to be in a small church and just have no space and no room. But this is for those who are limited on space, or you don't even have to use the facility. I want to ask you a question. Do you ever feel like the Israelites wandering around in the wilderness without a place to call your own? You say, I don't have a children's ministry, or I don't have a space of my own. I just feel like I'm just wandering around like a homeless person from place to place in the church trying to figure out where I can have kids' church. Or you may not even be able to have kids' church. And you say, you know, I'm struggling. We don't even have the space to have a kids' church. This is the place for you. You're not alone. Do you ever desire to have a Sunday school or a kids' church or a Sunday school room that is just so awesome that the kids don't want to leave? Has anybody ever desired that? Like, you know what? I have a burden for children's ministry. I have a burden for children, and I just want to have the most awesome place in my city that every kid knows to go to, because that is the best place. Has anybody ever desired that?
That's right.
Anybody? So,
Yes.
for as long as I know, or for as long as I have done children's ministry, I'm really kind of blanking on the exact number, but it's over 15 years that I've been doing children's ministry. I can say that we have never had a devoted room for children's ministry, and the team can tell you, yes, that is true. I mean, I can remember back when I started attending our church, we did have it at one point, but even then we had to share it. So it was Sunday school on Sunday morning. After that, it was the youth room. So, you know, we've done different versions of this. It just, you know, sometimes we had a little less, sometimes we had a little more. But, you know, we've never had a room to call our own. Sometimes what we have to do is meet the needs of the church.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of tough to not have something of your own, to not call your own, but we have to look at the bigger picture and not just our own ministry. You know, if we wanted to be a selfish ministry and say, no, this room is just for children's ministry, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing here today. You know, so we have to look at everything as what's going to benefit our church. And so you can see here we have to be the ministry that, you know, to the church as a whole, and not be self-centered. And we need to think bigger and share. And you know, and if you share a space, and if you don't have a shared space, you know, if you have a shared space that you share with other ministries, communicate with those ministries. Talk to those other ministries. Okay, I know that we're leading, like this last Thursday, Spanish ministry sets up, and they have Spanish church in here every Thursday. So I have communicated with them. Leave the chairs exactly the way you had them, and you can leave the sound system out. I just saved probably about 20 minutes of work for that ministry, all because I just communicated with them.
Right.
I said, how many tables do you need? He said, you need to take some tables out on Thursday. Well, we need 5. Cool, I will not touch your 5 tables. But if I had not done that, I would have took 5 tables out from that ministry, and they would have been walking around the church looking for tables. And that would have delayed their service. So if you have other ministries, you need to communicate with them. You need to talk to them if you're doing stuff that's out of your regular service. But if something's left out, who's ever stepped into a shared room that they had and it's filthy? Yeah. Yeah. That there is nothing greater that will get under my skin than walking into a room and there is just trash or chairs or stuff. So we have worked very hard as a church to make sure that we're not perfect at it, so don't think that we have it all down. But we have worked very hard to make sure that this room looks absolutely not, it was never in use. I mean, the floors are, you know, clean. The chairs are stacked in that corner, because we all know where the chairs go. They go in that corner right there. Tables are all stacked behind here, because on Monday through Thursday, our school uses this facility as well. So we all are constantly communicating with each other. Hey, I need this out, or can you make sure? And sometimes we can just make it easy on each other and just say, don't use this, or leave that out, and we'll take care of it. And if you don't have a space, you know who you need to go talk to? You need to talk to your pastor. You need to communicate with your pastor. Pastor, this is my vision. I would like to see this happen. This is what I feel a burden for. I want to have a children's church. I want to have a space that we can go to and we can just have church. And your pastor, I guarantee you, he's going to be like, that's awesome. Let's figure it out. But you need to communicate with your pastor on what you're desiring and what you're feeling. Because I've heard stories from friends, even Jonathan Pierce, who's teaching the other session, they've had church outside. And sometimes that's just what you need to do. I've heard of one story of a sister out in Florida. She had church right in front of the church. They had easy ups outside. They were doing it in hurricanes, and they were having church out there. It's possible, but it just comes down to how bad do you want to do it. You know, and this comes to my next thing right here. If you have time to come up with a complaint, guess what you have time for? To come up with a solution. Now, see, my wife knows this very well. This is a cool little love story. We started communicating a lot more because she came to me with a list of complaints. And I said, hey, pretty lady, guess what? Why don't you come up with some solutions for me on how we can fix this? And she did. It took her a while, but she did. But this is the way I feel about it. If you have time to complain about something, you have enough time to think of a solution and try and fix it. It's not going to benefit the church by you being bitter and complaining about things, but it is going to benefit your church by you coming up with a solution. There's always a solution for something. It may not be what you want, you know, but it will be what you will need in that moment. So this is something that I've had to burn in my own brain. Trust me. I remember one time, and I think my bishop really kind of set me straight on this. I went to my bishop with a list of complaints. I said, this, and this. And he looked at me and he goes, well, how many times have you failed at that? how many times have you done this? And I was like, he's like, you need to start coming up with more solutions than you are complaints. And so I've had to burn this into my head. And this has helped me to learn to take any situation or space that I may have and push myself to do the best with it. If you have a single classroom, now this doesn't just apply to kids' church, this applies to classrooms. If you have a single classroom, you can make that space into the greatest space that is in the church. You can make it into the greatest thing that you can ever come up with. The only limit that we have is our imagination, and if that fails, use Google. There has been a number of things that we have stolen from Google, that we Google fun room, and it, boom. And then you just take those ideas and just pretty much mimic it. You know, the thing that we, with all of the children's ministers here and stuff, we always say we steal from each other. What you do, I see you doing on Sunday morning, I say, oh, that's a great idea. I'm taking that. I'm stealing that. And we tell each other, steal it, take it. Because it's not ours. If it's going to benefit your church, that's what we're just trying to do. That's why we have this conference once a year, is to encourage everyone to say, this is what I do, take it. It's going to benefit you. And so, Google is always there to help you. And pray about it. You know, like, this is nuts and bolts, but we're not forgetting the spiritual side of all of this. Pray about it. This is what I would say you need to pray for. Pray about your kids' church and ask God for wisdom. Doesn't necessarily mean creativity, but ask God for wisdom. And then ask God to inspire you. God, give me, I'm not super creative, God, but give me an inspiration. Give me something that I see that I'm just going to be like, that would be awesome for my room. And then ask God to place the right people in your ministry. Now that is something that I've learned to pray for as a leader, is I pray for the right people to be in my ministry and I pray for the wrong people to leave. I want everybody to be involved in ministry. I want everybody to be involved in children's ministry. I wish we had the biggest staff in the world. But there are two things that can ruin, there's one thing for sure that can ruin your ministry, and that's the wrong person in your ministry. And sometimes me and my wife will talk about our ministry and where we're at, and sometimes we're like, well, I don't know if this person's quite really grasping the vision. We've talked to them, this and this, and we'll start praying, God, put them in the right place, put them where they need to be, because I don't know if this is it. And I kid you not, there has been numerous times where people are like, you know, Brother Ray, I just don't think children's ministries for me. And I'm like, you don't say. And I'll say, you know what? Let's find you a place in the church where you are going to be just greatly used. It's not that I want the person not to be involved in the church. I just feel that they're just not. I don't think this is for them, and that's okay. You know, but praying for the right people. There are people in our ministry that are very administrative, which such as my wife, Sister Missy. Allie is a creative person. She is like one of those people that, let's do this, and she organizes it and colors and all that stuff. And Riley and Tristan are there, and they're like, we're the outgoing people, and everybody else is like, we're not the outgoing. So there are just a slew of us that are complimenting each other, because we all know how those creative people are, is that they're super creative, throwing out ideas, and nobody wrote them down, and next Sunday nobody can remember what we're doing next Sunday. But that's where our people who are using their administrative brains and saying, well, I took notes. You know, my wife always takes notes, and I'm like, I didn't take a word down. I just kind of just try to remember. But pray for the right people to be in your ministry. You know, pray for those people in the church that are super creative, that you see that, or go after those people. Say, hey, have you ever thought about doing children's ministry? And you'd be amazed of how many people would probably be like, no, I never thought about it. Maybe I should join. You know, and you can grab those people. The next topic I want to talk about is gonna take work. This doesn't just happen. The saying Rome was built in a day should apply to kids' church too. It's not gonna happen today, it's not gonna happen in 2 days, it's not gonna probably happen in a week, sometimes it takes longer than that. But this is gonna take a lot of work. And you know, you have to ask yourself, am I willing to be all in? Like Brother Greg said this morning, how much are you willing to give? How much are you willing to give to your ministry and say, I just want to just give it the best? There are some times where it's weeks and weeks that we have where we're at the church pretty much every other weekend, just working on Saturday. We do outreach in the morning, or we come before outreach and we knock it out, or we come after outreach and we've stayed to the church until what, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning sometimes, getting things ready. Because we have a team that's just saying, I'm willing to give everything that I have. And sometimes it's our time, which is the hardest thing for us to give is our time. And it's hard for your families, it's hard for your kids if you have kids. It's hard for even yourself. But it's that dedication and just people being bought in. But it is, if you're a leader, how many leaders do we have in here that are leading their children's ministry? 2, 3? Awesome. You guys have the hardest job in the room. You're there before everybody, and you're there after everybody leaves. That's just the way it is. That's what we signed up for. That's what our pastors saw in you when they said, I want you to lead this ministry. Your responsibility is greater than everybody. Your devotion is going to be greater than everybody. The criticism is going to be greater than everybody's. And then everybody else here, we're working towards that. We're trying to get, if you see your leader struggling and saying, they're maybe not the most creative person, say, hey, I have this idea, what do you think about this? And sometimes it's going to be in line with what your pastor is wanting to do, sometimes it's not. I remember, I know this makes me really sad now. I remember my friend James Wayne, he had a session last year, I believe it was, on, I can't remember the topic, but he was talking to his pastor, and he said he came up with this idea, all these ideas, and he goes, my pastor took it, and it was the train crusher. And he said, this is what you should do. But there are times that we're going to have ideas, and sometimes they're going to get crushed down. But we still have to keep moving forward, come up with another idea. Same thing, don't come up with a complaint, come up with an idea. And so, Rome wasn't built in a day. So it's going to take time to come up with a system. Now this is really important. It's going to take you time to come up with a way of doing this. A way of setting up, a way of tearing down. Our team has that system down. I kid you not, we will transform this room in about half an hour. Because at 9:30, it's prayer time. We made up our mind, we are not skipping our prayer.
Right.
So we have about half an hour. If we have a bigger set, guess what I'm doing? Getting down here at 8:30. Because I tell the rest of the team, we need to be here at 9, and if there's a full team, we can get it done in about half an hour. If it's not so much of a full team, we're scrounging to get it, and then if we're not completely done, well, we got prayer at 9:30, we can finish it after prayer. It's going to take you time to build a system, building up, or setting up and tearing down. Your kids, building up and tearing, your kids' church every week. It may be hard at first. It may take you a lot longer than half an hour. New sets always take us longer for whatever reason because we're scrounging to look for something. We're scrounging to put everything up that Sunday morning. But you'll be a pro at it in no time. It's just habits. Getting in the habit of doing this. Setting up chairs. We are super quick at setting up chairs. We'll grab. Sometimes we'll always joke around. I got 8 chairs. We step up, and we get them all set up. You just get good at stuff when you do it a lot. And like I said, with our current time, it takes us about half an hour to set up this entire room completely transformed. Here's our old system that we were currently working with. We would have a new theme every month. So every single month we would change our theme. And then we would decorate every first Saturday of the month. So every first Saturday the team would know that we need to come down here, we need to start building stuff, we need to start decorating stuff, and then we would do that. That wasn't really working for us the way that the church has been going. So once again, aligning myself with our pastor's vision. Pastor has been having big pushes. We've been having a lot of guests. We've been having a lot of guest speakers because we're having a revival right now. So pastor's like, I need everybody in the sanctuary this Sunday. Okay, we're in the sanctuary. Or, when Mother's Day's coming up, we made a decision. We're going to be in there on Mother's Day because we got kids choir singing on Mother's Day. So we're going to give everything to that. So we're kind of, with doing it every month, I would have lost 2 months or 2 weeks out of this month. And we were estimating it with some of our sets, it was costing somewhere around $80, $80 to $100 a month. I know that sounds like a lot of money, especially if if your budget is like this, you know. And with our ministry, we're currently supplying our own, you know, from whatever the church is giving to children's ministry and whatever's coming out of our own pockets. We're currently doing that. I know some people have extravagant budgets, and praise God, that's not us. You know, and there are some of us here that have, you say, I have whatever's in my bank account is my budget. And so we have to learn to kind of work along that. But what we were doing is we were losing $80 potentially every 3 or 2 months out of the year. So we even made a decision during the holiday season, we were doing simpler themes because we were losing that money during the holiday time with everybody being gone, or Thanksgiving, Christmas, things like that, we were losing. So our new system that we kind of came up with is that we're doing new things every quarter. So it's a little bit more, we're able to manage that. And so we would decorate in phases. So first month of the quarter would be small. We have, you know, multimedia going. We'd have like some costumes and stuff like that. The second phase would be a medium-sized, you know, decoration. Then by the end of the quarter, we'd have a giant, we'd start building on top of it. And it was a lot easier financially, and it was a lot easier personnel-wise that we were able to do everything. So if we missed 2 or 3 months or 2 or 3 weeks in a month, then it wasn't a complete waste of money. And we were being better stewards with the funds that we had in our account. So we were able to decorate bigger and better. And then we made a decision that at the end of every quarter, we're having a big celebration to try and push kids to come. So this the last theme we did was our Western theme. So we were just building it, and every time we'd see something at the store, grab it, bring it into church, and just start setting up. We even came up with a cool little concept. We had water posters, and we would take funny pictures of the staff members and put them on the wall and see if they could find them. But then at the end of the quarter, we had the bounce house out, we had pizza, we had an obstacle course, and we had a picture booth. And every kid got a picture at the end of the day with all their Western. We even had a Western costume contest. So it gave us time to prepare for that without having to try and do that all in 4 weeks, and then that's it. So everything needs to be able to be torn down every Sunday, like I was saying, and then everything needs to be stored in its designated place here at our church. And then we have to make this room look like there was absolutely nobody in it. Anybody else have to do that at their church? Yeah? Yeah, it's tough because you're here, and especially if someone drops pasta salad all over the floor, guess what? We'll be here over here sweeping it up or vacuuming it. But get everyone involved. People who are even not directly involved in your ministry, you can get those people involved. Our kids revival, we actually took this from First Church in San Jose. I asked Brother Wang, and I said, how do you get so many people involved in your VBS? And he says, I just ask if anybody wants to be involved. We try to get the whole church involved in our VBS. So even on your Sunday mornings or weekly services that you're having, try and get people involved. If you know that there's a brother in the church that is just, he's skilled with saw, he can make anything. Or there's people that can paint, there's people that can create things, get those people involved. Say, hey, would you mind helping us out this Saturday? I need to create this. Could you help me out with this? That is a great outreach tool for new converts. We've had new converts. I even had a backslider come because he saw what we were doing for our kids' revival. When we were building something, he would say, hey, I want to come and help. Can I come and paint? Absolutely. Tatted up face, everything. He was just painting. He was like, cool. He said, man, I love this. This is awesome. You know, you get people involved that will never be involved. And that is just a sneaky way of getting them involved in the ministry. Because once they see how much you're having fun, and this comes to my next point, make your decorating days fun. You wouldn't believe what playing a little music while you're working would do. You wouldn't believe that just, you know, everybody talking, cracking jokes. I mean, if you can afford it, get dinner for everybody. If you can't, then everybody go out to dinner. You know, but get everybody involved, get everybody working, make it fun. Get people who probably would never want to step foot in a children's ministry, but they're willing to lend a hand and help out the church. Make an announcement over the pulpit and say, hey, this Saturday we're coming down and decorating. Can anybody come down and decorate? You'd be amazed how many people raise their hand and say, yeah, I'll do it Saturday. We have a couple people in our church. They're an older gentleman, an older lady, and I kid you not, every time we give them an option to serve, they're here. They don't want anything to do with kids, but they are always here to serve. And those people are the ones that you want. And as you can see here, that's some of our pictures from one of our kids' revival, but we also incorporate our thing for that month or that quarter with our kids' revival, so we're not buying double. We're always building until the end of the month where that kids' revival is going. This is really important. Don't burn out the people. Take your time, okay? Take your time to buy and build. Rome wasn't built in a day. Take your time to build it. If you can't get it all done in one Saturday, just build what you can. Next couple weeks later, start building it again. You don't want to burn out your staff. You don't want to burn out the people on your team, because it will happen. If you're just constantly trying to get something out of them, they're not going to give their best. Find a place to store the items. Don't bite off more than you can chew. I know that there's been some things that we have done, and we had way too much stuff, and we didn't know where to put it. And we were limited on the space that we had. Don't build something that you know you absolutely can't store. Don't build a giant race car that is the circumference of this room, and then be like, okay, well, where are we gonna put it? Oh, sorry, Pastor, I gotta leave this in there. I have nowhere to put this. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Find an area that you're allowed to store your stuff in. Sometimes it's going to have to be your car. Sometimes it's going to have to be your home. Sometimes it's going to have to be your garage. I know plenty of people that have stuff from their ministry in their garage. But if you have places in the church, store it. If you know that you don't have any storage, find something that you can do where you can put it. Labeled storage containers are a huge help. So our container that we have outside, it's the one that's not quite all the way to the right, is our storage container. We shared that with our youth ministry, our Easter drama, and we just made it work. But we had containers, and every container is labeled inflatables. Another one is labeled Western. And we just put all of that stuff from that theme in there if we can fit it. I still have rolls of fake grass when we did our baseball kids revival. So I'm like, we'll use this for something. I don't know what, but we'll use it for something. So labeled storage containers can be a great way of keeping your things organized and neat. So if you ever need something, you just run out there, you'll see it, and grab it. Costumes we'll put in storage containers as well. What do I use to decorate? There's something for every budget, small, big, small, or non-existent. The Dollar Tree is one of our best friends. 98-cent store, Home Depot. I cannot walk through a Home Depot without thinking of like 15 set designs every time I go in there. I'm like, oh, that would be great for this. Oh, this would be great. We can paint this. Amazon is a great place where you can let your imagination run wild. Who likes free? Raise your hand if you like free things. Oh, I love free things. The one thing that I have found that is free and that is a huge help, as you can see in the pictures right above this, is cardboard. Who's ever worked with cardboard before? It is amazing. You can build anything out of it. Cardboard. You know where you can get free cardboard from? What is that? Grocery store. They are trying to get rid of that. They literally will have pallets stacked with cardboard. If you go in the morning, or you can go anytime to the store and then tell you, can I speak to the manager? And you talk to the manager, say, hey, would you be able to save me the biggest boxes you have, and I'll pick them up the next day, or tomorrow morning, or later on in the week, whenever it's easiest for you guys? I guarantee you will have a stack of cardboard waiting for you. And that cardboard has become a yellow brick road, it's become a house, a city, the castle, we made a castle out of cardboard. Legos, we made Lego blocks out of cardboard and paper plates. We have built numerous things out of cardboard, and it was all free. I worked for a bike shop for about 8.5 years, and we would have giant bike boxes, and they would always know when we're building something different. You guys building at your church now? Oh, we got this going on. I just cut cardboard boxes up and then shoving them in my Prius and you'd be amazed. I could fit at least 12 bike boxes in my Prius. And just, I'm driving like this. There's boxes above my head, and I'm going home with it. But it was free. I probably saved our ministry at least, I would probably say thousands of dollars just by using cardboard. Just ask people. Ask people if anybody has anything. If you're doing, we did a baseball thing for our kids' revival. I asked the church, does anybody have baseball gloves, baseball bats? Someone's like, oh, I have the pitchers bound. You know, perfect, we'll take it. You know, just ask people. Does anybody have any questions? I know I'm kind of going, but I want to stop and make sure I want to take any questions. Yes?
When you do your themes, do you guys come up with it as a team?
Yes. So our themes are all voted on. So it's a fun, aggravating system, but we'll all take Post-it notes and say, okay, come up with it, whatever thing you want to come up with, and everybody comes up with these wacky things. Then we put them all, and we start reading them all, we start placing them on the whiteboard. Okay, so everybody looks at them, everybody's heard them, and then we say, okay, take your Post-its and write 1 through 5, or however many we need for the year. So we need 4, right? I think we did 4 this year. So we took 1 through 4. Put whatever one you think is the best, and so we vote on all of them. So a lot of times mine get bumped out because I guess they're not that great. But everybody's voting on what they feel is the best, and when yours gets the best vote, yes. Mine is the best, you know. And then we vote on those, and then we break it down from like 30 to 10. And then from 10, then we have to break it down even more. And then a lot of them get bumped out, or a lot of them are just duplicates, and we're trying to pattern them all together. But that's how we vote on our themes, is everybody has a say, and it's all agreed upon by the majority of the ministry. So that way, I found that that's just been a great way, so everybody has pretty much some skin in the game. They're just like, yeah, like my theme got pushed forward this week. We're doing it, you know? Yes?
How often do you get your whole Sunday school department to like plan, work, like just go over ideas and stuff? How often do you get to do that?
We'll do a yearly meeting, and we plan out the entire year. We have all of our themes. We don't do curriculum, but we usually come up with our own curriculum or lessons. So we'll meet once a year and plan out the entire year. Every week we'll have a theme or a message theme. So if that person is teaching, let's just say I have Riley teaching for that week, he can go on the printout that we have, and he says, oh, I'm teaching on the flesh. Got it, I know what I'm teaching about. Now that always does change depending on if God puts something on our hearts that we want to change it to. We're always open to that. But we plan all that, and then we'll have periodic meetings. We used to have them once a month. We're not as on top of it, I guess I would say. It's just kind of being transparent. But we would try and at least have it once a month just to check in to see how everybody's doing. Or we'll have a meeting that Sunday morning before we're getting into service. So if there's something like hot topic, like, hey, this new kid's been biting everyone, then we'll have a meeting and we'll talk about that. But usually once a month if we can obtain it. If not, we for sure have our yearly meeting, and then our year's kind of planned out. And we're always texting each other. So we have a group text message that we're constantly sending out. Hey guys, this is happening this week. Hey, so everybody can communicate if there is an issue on that group text message. Being involved in everybody's and your team's lives is key. You cannot have a successful ministry without everybody being on the same page. So that text message is usually always blowing up with either information or memes. That's usually it. So we all see something that we see at the store, like, oh, I saw this, what do you think of this? You know, so everybody's constantly communicating in some way. I think that's kind of pulled us away from our monthly meeting, is that we're always communicating via text, so it's not really as necessary. Yes?
Do you ever deal with different Sunday school classes eating the same prop?
So the way that we're doing it currently, we have one kids church for every age group, from 3 to 5th grade. But when we did do our Wednesday nights, each individual class we'd have like a main theme for the entire quarter, I believe it was, and each class was on their own as far as decorating, snacks, and all that stuff. But if there were supplies, just kind of had to work around it, you know. But that comes down to that communication.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna take, if you know it's something that could be like hey, I'm gonna take the wigs this week, I need them for this week, or I'm gonna grab the puppets. So that way it's communicated with everybody, so that way you kind of reduce the amount of times that you're gonna run into that, but it's just simple communication with everybody. Any other questions before we move on? No? Cool. All right. So, lighting. You may not be able to know, but if you look at our ceilings, please don't judge us. I'm pretty sure your ceiling has stains on it. But as you notice, there are 4 tiles on this ceiling that are different shapes and they are different colors. It's kind of not, you probably didn't notice it until right now, until I pointed it out. But those 4 blocks, I push them up, slide them back. All I had to do is get some gentlemen that know how to work on that stuff, and they cut the boards, the tile boards, in half for me, and we cut drywall and put them up and painted them. So those are drywall, and if you push them up and slide them back, down comes our lights. So we're able to put our lights in the ceiling, and I have a little remote, and I go boop, and then those lights light up the entire room. We can light up the stage, we can light up the areas. That is how we have adapted this room to be as best as we can. Also, if you go over here, may have never noticed this, but if I turn off that light, there is what going on these? Yeah. So I noticed that every center light is controlled by a different switch. So my brain went, ooh, Pastor, can I change one light on every light right here on the side and put black lights in it? And he said, yeah, no problem. Because it doesn't disrupt the room. It doesn't disrupt any other ministry. Actually caught us during the Easter drama, we had to keep all the lights off to keep the effect of realism in the church. I noticed when I walked in, everybody glowing. And I'm like, oh, they found the lights. There's black lights helping everybody get from one side of the room to this side because it wasn't super bright. It wasn't pushing out light anywhere else. But we have black lights all on this side of the room, so that way when we do puppets, we do our black light puppets or our noodle people, we shut off all the lights here, and then even the windows, we have a way of even covering our windows so this room will become entirely dark. So, simple things like I said, we're just finding ways not to disrupt the church, but ways that we can use the church for our benefit. We also have invested in blacklight strips that I found on Amazon. Oh, they are fantastic. We used to use the big, long, fluorescent ones, and I was always afraid that someone's going to pop them and break them and kill someone. So we found these other ones that just work better. They're a lot simpler, and they're a lot brighter than what we have. But lighting is like, it's not, I don't feel like it's a necessary thing, but it is super helpful. You can go on Amazon and find an LED light for $25. And let's say we're doing Jonah and the giant fish. And I want to make my classroom or Sunday school an immersive experience. I'm going to turn off all the lights, and then I'm going to turn that LED light to a blue light. Now we're underwater. And we're like, ooh, can you imagine being on the boat and you get kicked off the boat, and now you're just in the water. And then a giant fish comes and swallows you, you change it to pink. Now we're in the belly of the fish. That has just changed your dynamic of your classroom or your Sunday school to something that's immersive. Black lights, we use black lights a lot. I would even turn off all the lights. I remember when we did our midweek classes, and I would have a classroom and I'd turn off all the lights because I knew that one light didn't turn off anything else besides that room. And I would do a black light puppet and teach a lesson with just a black light puppet. I'd have one black light in the room and then a glow-in-the-dark puppet. And I would talk with that kid. The kids would, and they love just seeing the lights around. But lighting can change up the dynamic of the room. Like I said, this room looks completely different. You can kind of barely see it there, but if you can see, we did a out of this world space theme, and we had a glow-in-the-dark alien.
Yeah.
And the kids were like, oh, but we just put a black light right up to some fluorescent paint, and it lit right up. Also, tablecloths. Has anybody ever been to a birthday party and they have the tablecloths that all the kids decide they want to rip? Yeah, those plastic tablecloths, we can transform this entire room with plastic tablecloths. Previously, we don't do it as much anymore, but we used to cover these walls, partition walls, with the plastic tablecloths. And then we would just put black if we wanted something stays. Or we even draped a giant circus tent with plastic tablecloths. And he's on a roll. But I did find on Amazon for about $30, you can get 300 feet of plastic tablecloth. You know what we could do with 300 feet? We could bunch it up and make it look like water. We could do all kinds of stuff. We can just, like I said, we draped a circus thing all with plastic tablecloths. There are just countless possibilities with that stuff. And it's cheap. Last thing I want to talk, or I'm sorry, does anybody have any questions on lighting? Or yes?
I have a question on, you say you have almost all ages in your class, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you set up your classroom for the younger ones? You set them up in the front and keep the...
No, they can we kind of let our kids, well, we have one side for the boys and one side for the girls. We keep it separate like that, just a little bit easier for us to kind of, all the boys, when they want to be rambunctious, they're all in one spot instead of being all over. But the age groups, we kind of let them choose where they want to sit. You know, there's always the ones, oh, I want to sit right up in the front. They put the little purses up in the front. But they usually tend to sit by their age groups, most of them, unless they have brothers and sisters, then they'll usually sit with that. But we have a group of 4 girls that all like to sit together, and they're like rolling their eyes at it right now because those 4 girls, they can be a terror sometimes, and they can be the ones, oh, she's making fun of me, oh, you know, and then that's the whole service. But we kind of let them sit where they are, but once they start acting up, we'll start moving them. So we kind of we use that as like their freedom, sit wherever you want to sit, but if you're acting up, or I have to tell you more than 15 times to settle down, now I'm going to move you over here by brother or sister so-and-so, and you're going to have to go sit with them. It's not where you want to be. So we kind of use that as like a behavioral thing, like you can sit wherever you want to sit. But the age groups, we really don't. They they feel more comfortable sitting where they want to sit, and so it's not really. But usually the younger ones, if I had to choose that, I would sit them towards, kind of towards the back and towards the edge because they have to use the restroom a lot. And if they're always constantly moving out of the front row, it's kind of disruptive for everyone. So that's usually kind of what we'll do, but like I said, we kind of let them sit wherever they want, let them have that freedom. There's not very many that we give them here, so, we say you can sit wherever you want, but if that's an issue, then we're going to start. Any other questions? No? Everybody tired? Everybody tired from lunch? They're all full? Okay. I got one more thing for us today. What time am I supposed to be over? 2:50? Well, we got plenty of time. We'll do some more questions and answers after. But I do want to stress in this. As you can see this, I wrote this as big as I can. This is the most important thing. Do not forget this. Whatever you do, everybody say, what, 6 minutes? Oh.
Yeah, it's important.
All right. Everybody say, do not forget this.
Do not forget.
No. You got to say it. Do not forget this.
Do not forget this.
There we go. You need to cover your room in prayer.
Yes.
All of this nuts and bolts, all of this stuff that we talked about will mean nothing if this room is not covered in prayer. You, everybody point to yourself, say me.
Him.
Not your neighbor. You are responsible for setting the atmosphere of your service or your class. There is nobody else that can mess that up besides you. You need to make sure that this place, that your space, you need a place of love that your child wants to be in. Your room needs to feel like the place that every kid walks in off that bus or off of their parents' car and they walk into that room and I say, I know if anywhere in this church or anywhere in this world I don't feel love, that in this room I feel love.
Right.
It has to be. There can be no exceptions on that. I don't care how terrible you think that child is, they need to be able to walk in that room and you light up when you see them. Riley, I'm so happy to see you. I'm so glad you're here today. It's just simple like that. Someone say, hey, you came to church today. Man, I'm so glad to see you. We've all been guilty of just letting that kid walk on by and letting them go straight to the games or sitting at breakfast. You have to make sure that that room is feeling like home. Because to some of your kids, that's the only place that they're ever going to feel like they're home. It's the only place that they're ever going to have someone tell them they love them. It's the only place that they're ever going to feel, you know what? If I'm feeling down today, or I'm feeling, my mom didn't come home last night and I just jumped on the bus and went to church, I know I'm going to get a hug. You know what? Nobody bathed me this morning. I've been in my filth for 2 days. At least I know Sister so-and-so is going to do my hair today when I show up to church. We have to take that extra step and make sure that this place feels love. You are just secreting that love that you have for your kids. We need to make sure that this place feels safe. There's one thing that I always make sure that I tell our staff: we do not yell at our kids. We can talk sternly, be very direct with them, but we do not yell at our kids. They get enough of that at home. They get enough of that at the world. They get enough of that at school. We don't ever want to scream at our kids. We don't ever want to belittle them. We want to talk to them direct and let them know, I love you, but we can't act this way. This room needs to feel safe. And that includes your staff members, and that includes other children. There's always one thing I always tell our kids: hey, we don't do that in here. We need to stop. That's not safe. Somebody can get hurt. I saw a little boy going out there. Hey, why don't you come over here? He's like, why? Because there's cars moving around. There is? Yeah, and I don't want you to get hurt. That would make me feel really sad. It's like, all right, just walked over. Instead of me just like, hey, get over here, We got to let this room be fun. Sometimes we have to just put aside the things that we go through every day. We got to put aside all the stuff that we come in with. Your kids don't need your real life problems. Your 6-year-olds, your 7-year-olds, your 10-year-olds, your 3-year-olds, they don't need your issues. Leave them at the door. Make this room fun. Make this room feel crazy. Make them say, you know what they did today? They blew up something at church. We always say every morning when we're done praying, let's make these kids not want to leave. I want a place that the kids come to church and say, I don't want to leave this room. It's too much fun. We have a rule here where we allow our 10-year-olds, they can check themselves out. We only let kids out unless they're able to check themselves out or their guardian comes and picks them up. It's the only way you can get out of this room. But I have 10-year-olds that say, yeah, I don't want to check myself out yet. Or, the parents come and get them, can I stay a little longer? That's the goal. When our kids do that, I'm like, yes, we hit it. This has been a fun day. There's other kids that just want to leave. Sometimes it just is. Let this room be real. Let the presence of God be real to them. Let your altar times be real. Don't rush them to get out. I've had kids that pray until we're setting up chairs, we're passing out cupcakes and stuff, and they're still speaking in tongues in the corner. That's okay. I always tell you, take your time. Take your time. Make this room be the realest thing that they'll ever feel. Because I will tell you what, there is a school system, there's television, there's other family members that are constantly trying to eat at your kids and take every little bit of their innocence away. And whatever we can do to preserve that and let them just be kids. There's some kids that we have that come off our buses or come to our church, and they're the parent 24/7. But when they're in this room, they get to be a kid. When they're in this room, in this atmosphere, because we worked hard to make sure that this feels like the best place ever, they can push all that away. I don't have to worry about my brother and sister today because sister so-and-so loves them right now. And they're just thinking, here, I can just go into the altar and start praying. I can just lift up my hands. I can go and just have fun and take 1 hour and 30 minutes out of my day and just be a kid. That's what we want. That's what we want our kids to do. So all this stuff doesn't mean a thing unless we're covering a room in prayer and we're covering all that stuff that we're doing with our hearts. Let's pray.